Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Literally Surge, where every day we expose the very real risk and danger that underage children are in as they get exposed to disgusting Scientology practices of which they cannot consent to be a part of. And thank you so much for all of you joining us. Hello, Mommers. Hi, Love It. Marina. Good to see you, Mena. Everybody here, thank you for joining us as we are going to be discussing an example of right and wrong when it comes to the situationship that Katie Holmes, actress Katie Holmes, you know, Hollywood darling Katie Holmes, did get Suri Cruz out of the hotel, but Miss Holmes did leave a lot of other kids back inside of the hotels. And it's been almost 18 years, Katie, that children are still stuck in the hotels. And imagine that you, with all your privilege, are sitting there doing nothing about it. So imagine the type of example you are setting for your own child. Oh yeah, I did take you out of the hotel, but you know what? With all my platform, with all my influence, with all my ability to do something about it, I decided instead to do nothing. That's a choice that you're making, Katie Holmes, to do nothing. And imagine you did get to OT7. Imagine all the media has said, oh no, you guys, that was just Tom Cruise's thing. He just did it. And, you know, she just followed along. BS. You got up to OT7, Katie Holmes. That required a ton of your consent. If you want to claim that it was under undue influence, by all means, claim it. By all means, claim it. Get to your daddy, the lawyer, and say, oh, everything was under undue influence. Daddy, I had no idea what in the hell was going on inside of the hotel. And then start speaking about what you did witness in that hotel, Katie Holmes, with your own eyeballs, with your own ears. You were brought over to the Church of Scientology in the Fort Harrison. You were all over Celebrity Center being exposed to all the underage kids that I guess you also think were adults. But breaking news to you, none of the underage kids were adults. So in what twisted universe do so-called influencers like Nicole Kidman and Katie Holmes wield their power and privilege while turning a blind eye to the horrors inflicted upon innocent children within the confines of Scientology's hotels and commercial buildings? Let's dissect the hypocrisy here. Both Kidman and Holmes, despite claims of being not that involved, attained high levels within Scientology, included OT3 and OT7 respectfully. So Nicole was OT3, finding all about Xenu, and Katie Holmes got all the way up to OT7, where she was getting rid of her own body thetans that were implanted there by Xenu. These are not mere casual participants. These are individuals that were deeply entrenched in the organization that is notorious for manipulation and abuse. Systemic abuse of minors is what it's called. Institutionalized aggravated child abuse, which is a felony. You should know what a felony is, Katie Holmes, since your daddy was a lawyer. So by all means, tell us how you didn't know what aggravated child abuse was and a felony. And by all means, tell us, if you were subjecting yourself to audits, Katie, in what world can you claim that you have no idea what other children are going through? Because you are being given the kudos that you deserve for having taken Suri out. We wouldn't wish on Suri what in the hell was done to us. We wouldn't wish it on any kid. But you know what? Other kids that are there also don't wish that on themselves. And guess what? They're being told that every type of abuse and felony being committed against them is fully legal and that they must be very confused because felonies are not being committed. They're just, taking their passports because why not? Imagine having 18 plus years to reckon with the fact that you once endorsed and condoned the unspeakable trauma inflicted upon underage kids in the name of a twisted ideology. And let's not forget the complicity of the mainstream media, with reporters drawing six-figure salaries while lazily regurgitating stories fed to them by crisis managers and Hollywood power brokers. These so-called journalists are nothing more than talking heads spewing forth propaganda and manipulating the public's intelligence with their shameless pandering to the status quo. It's time to sound the alarm, despite the efforts of platforms like YouTube, like TikTok, trying to actively suppress our message. It's time to expose the corruption and greed that pervades every level of society, from Hollywood elites to mainstream media moguls, sanitizing images at the expense of kids that are sacrificed because no one will come and advocate for them. It is literally time to demand justice for survivors like the one that you're going to see here, insulted and manipulated by ABC News Australia, whose pain and trauma were exploited for mere profit and sensationalism. So to Kidman, to Holmes, and to all Scientology mothers, both exes and current Scientology mothers, you're all in one bucket. You decided to make the adult choice of turning a blind eye to the suffering of innocent children in the pursuit of y'all's fake illegal power, highly illegal power, and false privileges stemming from the highly illegal power you were, seeking after. And this is what we say to y'all. Your complicity will not go unnoticed. Your hypocrisy will not go unchallenged. And your day of reckoning is fast approaching. It is time to stand up and speak out and hold the perpetrators of abuse, systemic abuse of minors, accountable for their crimes against children. Anything less is a betrayal of y'all's collective conscience and a stain on the soul of every child that has been affected, brought inside the hotels, that no mother is on the record repudiating what they all agreed was fully acceptable. It took all of their collective agreement of these adults to make children fair game, you guys. This is not the story where, Miriam's mom was so unhinged and so crazy that Miriam got it really bad. Wrong story. This is not a case where, Nicole Kidman was just so crazy and unhinged that she's the only one that we're calling out. Wrong. It's not just Katie Holmes. It's not just my mother. It's not just Jenna Miscavige's mother. It's not just Laura Anderson's mother. It's not just Nora Eames' mother. It's not just Liz Ferris's mother. It's all of the mothers combined, making an agreement that trafficking of kids and abusing them was a spiritual experience that they were having for themselves. Mothers that agreed that sacrificing kids and making them fair game was all in their interest of their own kids. Imagine being the mother that sits here in this year 2024, having nothing to offer to the FBI crimes against children, having nothing to offer to the LAPD, having nothing to offer to the Clearwater PD, having nothing to offer on the public record, calling themselves out and everyone else that they saw doing what in the hell they were all doing. Because yes, breaking news to all of you that still want to go, everybody deserves the benefit of the doubt. Well, you know what? L. Ron Hubbard didn't want you, all proteges of his, to have the benefit of the doubt. L. Ron Hubbard was the one that told you that criminals always want to get caught. And they do everything in their power to leave clues so that one day somebody comes, grabs the clue, sees it, acts on it, and then stops the kids getting abused. So, thank you, Zoe. I appreciate it. Let's keep putting out the truth. Let's keep putting out the truth, and let's keep asking for literal adults to come to their senses. That's all we're asking Scientology parents, both exes and current. Come to your literal senses. Go and find your humanity. It is in there somewhere. If you look real hard for it, you will find it, I'm sure. So, yeah, Rachel, I don't know anything about those parties, but the tea is that she left her children there. Nicole, her adopted kids were left behind. And we've already done other reaction videos on Nicole, and you can watch them on my channel where we call her out for literally pretending that when she did this movie where she played the role of a mom who is homophobic, she literally says that children that are in Scientology or, being gay is the same thing. And that as a mother, you should just love your child. If they want to be a Scientologist, let them. If they want to be gay, let them, was Nicole's message. So Nicole also just left them there behind, knew that the children were going to be audited and didn't give an F. Knew that the kids were going to get ethics handlings and didn't give an F. Knew that the kids could be doing courses inside Scientology grooming salons, and still that didn't raise a shred of red flag for Nicole. And all of this is being called out, and all of this is being contextualized here in the segment, you guys, where shout out to Mike Rinder. If you don't know what accountability sounds like, Mike Rinder, here is this segment where you will see an executive that was brought in to literally work inside Scientology hotels and commercial buildings at the age of 15 takes more accountability in one tiny interview than you have done in your entire history of so-called whistleblowing and really wanting to blow a whistle. So just compare it for yourself, you guys, and you let me know who comes across and takes more accountability in the 12 minutes that we're going to react to this segment, and literally send a message out that all the people that are out there literally pretending that they don't know what the problem is, and the problem could be this, and the problem could be that. The problem is that there's kids involved, underage kids. Simple. Anything else is an altered importance. Oh, you want to bring up Shelly and how Shelly's a grown-ass woman? She literally grew up trafficking kids her whole life. L. Ron Hubbard, her daddy figure, normalized it for her. And then that's all it took for Shelley to be a full-blown child trafficking enabler and trafficker herself. So let's take a look at these corporate media talking points, because this is by the time that Suri and Katie were escaping Scientology.
The divorce of the Hollywood couple Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes has placed the Church of Scientology under unprecedented media scrutiny. In particular, its treatment of children has been in the spotlight following media speculation that the reason Katie Holmes left Tom Cruise was to protect her daughter from the religion. Jenna Miscavige Hill, the estranged niece of Scientology chief David Miscavige, has said the organisation is no place for an innocent child. We're about to hear from a woman who grew up in the church. Romana Dienis Browning is a former Scientology executive. She was sent to a Scientology school as a child, joined the exclusive C organisation at the age of 15, but has now left the church. Romana, welcome to The Drum.
All right, you guys. So imagine this platitude being blabbed out by this reporter about how, oh yeah, you know, Katie Holmes leaving is just putting so much scrutiny over the children. We really do care about the children. The corporate media is really going to scrutinize the subject so much, as if Jenna didn't leave those hotels. And in one sentence, pleaded with people to know that this was not a hotel to leave innocent children behind, unattended, where literal predators were going to be crawling around that hotel, having their way with their kids, and nobody was going to give an F. So imagine that's already been in the corporate media's consciousness when they are going to be typing headlines that have everything to do with privileged children of actresses that did leave the hotel when they wanted, that they did have outside help to help them do that. And, you know, the media is now tapping this ex-Scientology executive that is going to be discussing the treatment of children. This is all happening in Australia.
Hi.
What do you think of what Jenna Miscavige Hill said, that Scientology is no place for an innocent child?
Oh, I think that's very accurate. Yeah, it's definitely
Accurate in what way?
I think that it's one thing to be an adult and to make a decision about spiritual practice or a religion or something of that type. But it's a completely different thing to bring a child into that kind of environment where they don't have a choice about it.
Well, they don't have a choice about it. Imagine this woman, you guys, Brianna is her name. She already was saying, in her own words, kids could not consent. It's one thing you as an adult want to go in there and do this and do that and call that your spiritual practice. We would call that bondage, since we do know what audits were all about. These adults were all about being bondaged. They were all about being strapped to cans. They were all about being submissives to whoever they were paying to make them their submissive. They were all about tapping people that completed a 2-week course inside of a hotel to outsource their adult choices and what they wanted to do. They were all about being humiliated. They were all about being financially dominated, financially told to spend money that they didn't have, and they just did whatever in the hell they got told. So yes, breaking news for all of you empaths that want to go and save every last adult that wants to make bad choices for themselves. It is not a thing. You cannot save those adults. You cannot tell them no. They are there because they want to be there. They signed a contract. They literally signed a contract, including Katie Holmes. Katie Holmes had to sign all contracts put in front of her. Katie Holmes, with the best of the best attorneys on speed dial, with the best of the best people in her orbit to advise her on what to do, still ended up ensnared in something she consented to be a part of, on something that she gave money to, on something that she was getting something out of it for herself. So bad choice, Katie Holmes. You shouldn't have been going in there to see what you could get for yourself. You shouldn't have been ensnared with Tom Cruise. You should have smelled the rat. And no one can fault you for that because you did leave, but apparently in your consciousness, it never occurred to you, oh, well, if my child is at risk, maybe other children are at risk too. Because imagine here, Brianna, executive that she was, brought in as a child, brought it up, when this segment was done, literally almost 1.5 decades ago. And guess how much happened after Brianna spoke on this, you guys? Guess how many guardrails were erected to really now protect children? Because, as this man said here, the corporate media really scrutinizing how this place is not suitable for children. We told the media that this place was not suitable for children. In how many ways have they been told the same thing, only to misunderstand us on purpose? Imagine the corporate media that build all these brands about, oh yeah, trust our critical thinking skills, you guys. If you don't have them at home, we, the critical thinking skills media, will have them for you. Well, imagine that they're just a bunch of pathetic, ridiculous puppets that play the part that they're really wanting to, dig into the story, but you will see how glib they are.
Okay, one of the things that is a policy of L. Ron Hubbard's is a thing called security checking, and it starts at the age of 6, according to one of his policies. Can you explain to us what security checking is?
It's a way of basically finding out about your transgressions or wrongdoings or sins, depending on how you want to look at it.
And, Brianna's not a Scientology auditor, you guys. So you can see how she's struggling to pitch to this man what we were told ad nauseum. Oh, this is just like every other religion, you guys. Everybody talks about sins in other religions. Don't think we're the only ones. We just have a technology. We have a technology that asks not for sins, but for felonies for which you have not been arrested. So that's our only difference here. So we're not just caring about sins. We're caring about felonies. We're caring about anything you might want to hide, because you know what? It turns out that if you hide a shred of a thing, if you have a shred of privacy for yourself, the wonderful technology of L. Ron Hubbard will not work. Everything will go awry. You will get no case gain. You won't get the big, amazing wins that everyone is having that you see over there. All the Scientologists ad nauseum, you guys, oh my God, this is amazing. I've never done anything better in my life. This is so great. This is so wonderful. That's what the adults do say about getting audited and getting locked up. When they're consenting, they're getting off on it. They're loving it. They cannot get enough of it. They wish they could just literally have their whole life to be there in that hotel, getting interrogated and getting, being made into ridiculous pawns that, yes, we could want to save them, but they will pitch that with a straight face they're really getting saved. So sect checking is not about sins. Sect checking is asking disgusting, inappropriate, self-incriminating questions that under no literal sense at all are not incriminating. Nobody cares in the hotel. In fact, the more incriminating your questions, the better sect checker that makes you. Imagine that.
Unburden somebody.
So what kind of questions then would they be asking 6-year-olds?
All manner of things. What have you done wrong? What are you withholding? Things like that.
What are your parents doing?
Yeah.
That kind of thing?
Yeah.
No. What are your parents doing? Nobody gives an F what your parents are doing. Nobody would ask such a dumb, stupid question as a security sec check question. You're supposed to get crimes. You're supposed to find out what are they withholding that they don't want found out for themselves. Oh, did anyone, touch you in a way that you shouldn't have been touched? Okay, so where? Who touched you like that? And what did you do to flirt with them? What did you do to tutti flow them? What did you do to incentivize them to literally abuse you? So there's no open questions about, oh, what are your parents doing? That's not a sec check question. What are your parents withholding what kind of crime did you and your parents commit? That's a question, but not just what are your parents doing? They would never be that dumb to ask those stupid questions.
Is it so they can gain information on other people within the church?
Well, it wouldn't be. That's not how it would be explained. But I'm not sure.
Okay.
About that.
You weren't.
That's not how it would be explained, and yet. Yes, you guys, we were getting information for them. Nobody got told them, oh, we want this information so that we really can control you. I mean, who can be that dumb and stupid to think that that's the way it's done? I mean, it is done that way. They are told, they're building a case. They are told a 2-week course inside of a hotel makes anyone an expert to outsource all of their adult decision and choices too. So they are told that false pitch, and they do go with it. The adults do go with it.
Security checked until you were the age of 16, but you were certainly audited when you were younger. Now, auditing is the form of counselling that Church of Scientology uses. What kind of questions were they asking you when you were a child?
So just make note of that. She was being interrogated until the age of 16. All right?
When I was a child, I had some auditing and lots of different things were covered. The thing that I feel was inappropriate to me as a child was that things of a sexual nature came up, and I was questioned about this. And I found that very uncomfortable as a child.
At what kind of age were they asking you questions about this?
I was probably around between the age of 8 and 10.
Between the age of 8 and 10. Mike Rinder, why were children being interrogated between the ages of 8 and 10 about disgusting things that should have been none of your business, that should have been none of Debbie Cook's business, that should have been none of Angie Trent's business, that should have been none of Angie Blankenship's business, that should have been none of Tom DeVog's business, there should have been none of any of David Miscavige's protege's business? Where is the religious experience that kids are having for themselves at 8 years old, being strapped to a machine, unable to move, unable to say no, unable to say, you know what, bye, unable to go to their parents and complain? Because yes, the parents were in on it. Her parents knew. She was being interrogated about disgusting things to do with her second dynamic. That's how they sanitized it, you guys, because don't forget, go to a euphemism from L. Ron Hubbard so you can sanitize any disgusting thing you are trying to do to an 8-year-old child as you lock him up, sit him down, and ask him say disgusting stuff. So couldn't be more corroborated by independent sources that the corporate media is too stupid to connect a shred of dot.
I can't remember exactly, but young, really young. And the person auditing me was a man of, middle-aged man, of 35 to 40.
And how do you feel about that now?
Now, reflecting on it, I feel like it borders on sexual abuse. That's my feeling about it,
And the Church of Scientology...
I mean, and again, you guys, think about this man being granted this interview with a woman that just told him that at 8 years old, she was being asked disgusting, sexual natured questions. How do you feel about that now? How do you feel about that now? And she's like, it borders on sexual abuse. Imagine that we already have this for ourselves in the public record. Imagine the insult, the adding insult to injury, where we see all these TV shows about how, literal adults who literally engage in conversations that are of what? Sexual nature. Online. Sting operations. That if they just catch an adult having conversations over text message, not even in the same room, right FBI or wrong, right LAPD or wrong, right Clearwater Police or wrong, right all police officers of these United States or wrong. Because people can have fake conversations with someone posing as a fake child and still be literally prosecuted for they were intending to go do something with a child. Imagine in Scientology, it doesn't matter. They can pay. So there's a hotel room where they can tell that child, I want to F you. I want you to give me a BJ. I want to really talk about that. I want to talk about the time that you gave me a BJ in another life. I want to, hey, no one's going to say anything about that. Because they're just having a religious experience with a minor. Right, Scientology mothers or wrong? Right, Katie Holmes or wrong? Right, Nicole Kidman or wrong? And again, you guys, if you as an adult want to pay to sit down in front of a middle-aged man to discuss horrific, disgusting sexual questions that they're going to help themselves to ask you, then you know what? No one can come and help you. You have to wake yourself up and you have to put a boundary for yourself. Nobody owes it to these people subjecting themselves there on purpose. But why in the hell are they exposing kids for the 10th billion time, FBI? Why?
Keeps all this information, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yeah. I mean, it is confidential, but they do keep it on record.
There's you hear that information is sometimes used against former Scientologists as a threat, that they can use that information against them. Is that the case?
Look, I have heard that. It hasn't happened to me, but I've heard that.
Okay, let's talk about the C organization. Otherwise,
so is it confidential or is it not confidential? And FBI, is it confidential to self-incriminate yourself inside of a hotel only to be told that your needle was floating, and then it's not confidential, and then it's very protected, and then no one can have a shred of an opinion about self-admitted felonies committed against children, perpetrated on underage kids who could not literally do anything about the felony being perpetrated against them? Because it would be great to understand that from the FBI, who apparently Mike Rinder already told them everything there is to know about what he and his buddies were doing inside of the hotels. So you, FBI, who didn't protect the Jeffrey Epstein victims, you, FBI, who didn't protect the U.S. gymnastic girl victims, you, FBI, who is all about having billionaires break all laws to do with aggravated child abuse, trafficking, that's in your laws. You go and read it. You idiots at the FBI, go and read that. You're playing dumb. It's already in black and white. It's called, there's already laws that prohibit that level of exploitation be done on kids, or y'all purport that that's the type of laws that exist in this country. Well, there's apparently a secret set of laws that the FBI uses for whenever you have $1 billion in your bank account. Breaking news, you guys. So all child traffickers, if you never want to see a shred a literal shred of consequence for your actions. Make sure you have $1 billion in your account, and then you'll be helped like Epstein, and then you'll be helped like the troubled teen industry, and then you will be helped like they've been helping Scientology do.
Otherwise known as the Sea Org. It's the elite organization in Scientology that you're a member of. Explain to us what it is.
It's basically like joining, being a nun or a monk or a devotee of a religion. So you're absolutely committed. You give away most of your possessions, and you completely dedicate yourself to the service of Scientology.
And you live on about $50 a week, and you sign a billion-year contract to join the Sea Org, don't you?
That's right, yeah.
Why a billion-year contract?
So, I mean, again, you guys, and shout out to her, because you see her trying to be modest, and you see how uncomfortable she is as she's being put in a position to denounce where she comes from. Oh, we were told we were monks. We were everything but monks, idiots at the FBI. If you think that we were monks inside of that hotel, by all means, tell us how we were monking. Why were we dressed in military uniforms, in fake ones? Why did that happen, FBI? Why were we locked up in rooms with adults that were paying for our time to be asking and to be placed in settings where they could have their way with us? And you will call that a religious experience with a straight face. IRS commissioner, that's for you to answer. Imagine the IRS is literally subsidizing. This is why state-sponsored child trafficking of minors at an industrial size scale. And yes, breaking news is the IRS, the most corrupt three-letter agency that is allowing self-admitted felons that go and pay to be told that they can literally F a child and float it. So by all means, IRS, start making sense what in the hell you're doing at the IRS, since you are the ones that said this was a very nonprofit organization that was really going to save a world.
It's a symbolic contract because they believe in reincarnation in Scientology, and so you're dedicating not only this life but all of your lives for the next billion years to the service of the Sea Org.
There's been some speculation in the media that there were concerns that Suri Cruz would have to join the Sea Org. The Church of Scientology has said, well, that's ridiculous because she's only 6 and that we don't take people until the age of 16. What do you...
The people in Scientology say that's ridiculous, that Suri Cruz was going to end up in the Sea Org because we don't take anyone below 6. And how old was Jenna? And how old was Lara? And how old was Miriam? And how old was Liz Ferris? And how old was Serge Oblinsky? I mean, and again, you guys, like the corporate media, without being able to push back on any lies that they're told to themselves, because the mainstream media, as soon as they get told a lie, they just regurgitate it and have no critical thinking skills to ask a follow-up. Wait a minute, you said you don't take anyone below 6, but you have a cadet org. There's all these records of kids that were 6 years old rotting in cockroach-infested motels, which is where they were being kept. So yes, was Suri Cruz going to really end up there, you guys? No. No, 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 and no. Do you think Riley Keough, the daughter of Lisa Marie Presley, another amazing celebrity for Hollywood, is she having a hard time being recruited into the Sea Org to be the replacement of David Miscavige? Like, this person is here with a straight face asking her if that's the plan? No. I mean, again, you guys, it's like the level of stupid questions knows no bounds, literally.
What do you say to that?
I don't know what they're doing now. I know I was 15 when I was recruited for the Sea Org, so that definitely is younger than 16. I know of other people that were very close to me when I was a child that joined at around 12.
So, and I'm seeing here, Rachel, that you're asking, is there an age limit to signing the contract? And I think she just answered you. Some at 12, some at 5, some at 6, some at 15. I mean, it was all contingent on whether or not you were qualified to be child trafficked. Who are your parents? Who are their grandparents? Who are their relatives? Would anybody miss them? Would anybody claim them? Would anyone be upset that they're here inside of the hotel? Oh, then they don't qualify. Don't sign them up. Oh, that one will have no one miss. No one's going to care. Oh, then that one qualifies. He's only 8 years old. Who cares? Bring him in. Bring him in is all it took to grab whoever in the hell they felt like grabbing. They were just making sure no one would miss you on the outside. No one would claim you. That's why I got abducted in there, because my grandparents were already all about it. My parents were already all about it. My aunts and uncles were already all about it. Everybody was all about it. Who was going to miss me? Nobody was going to miss me, and nobody did miss me there. Imagine that. So couldn't make the point by literally making the point of what the circumstances for these children are. They're targeted. They're selected to be fair game to be child trafficked.
And I personally recruited people when I was in the Sea Org that were children, that were around the age of 12, 13.
See, Mike Rinder? And I personally recruited children when I was in the Sea Org that were those ages. We couldn't be more disgusted that we were nabbed as children. I couldn't be more disgusted that I was being made to audit children. I couldn't be more disgusted that I was being told to groom adults and give them certificates because I gave them a pass drilling with a doll what they can go and do with a child inside of the disgusting hotel. We couldn't be more nauseated that that is what in the hell was done with all of our formative years. We couldn't be more repudiating and calling it out because we couldn't be more disgusted. So in what world have you taken a shred of accountability? Mike Rinder, by all means, start making things make sense. Because you know what? If you spew BS, we're going to be able to call it. Since you did give us a front row seat at your bullshit, disgusting racketeering scheme that you pitched to the IRS as a way for you to really save our world, where you told the IRS you were going to be a high-ranking board member of a nonprofit that really is going to save our world by enslaving kids. By all means, call the IRS commissioner and tell him what your intentions were when you were doing that OSA work to kneecap the IRS for them to tell you whatever in the hell you want to do, Mike Rinder. Get out of our lives already. Because at the IRS, we won't do a shred of due diligence. We'll let anyone purport that they're a nonprofit organization, and then they don't have to pay taxes, and then they can child traffic kids, and then we will give them rewards that only this United States government can give a nonprofit. Because again, you guys, if you don't think that you are the ones subsidizing, de facto subsidizers of child trafficking, wake up, American citizens. It's you who is subsidizing it without consent, because you're paying the IRS. And guess what? Scientology is not paying the IRS, because guess what? The IRS is outsourcing whatever the hell nonprofits are supposed to be doing to these disgusting people. So the IRS is the most disgusting agency that literally sanctions, literally gives tax breaks to self-admitted felons. Breaking news.
So how are children treated within the Sea organisation at that age of 12 or 13?
They're treated like any other SEAL member.
So for all of you who doubt that kids are told that they're not kids, they're treated like any other Sea Org member. The truth corroborates itself. I've never spoken to this woman. I've never talked to her. I've never even known that she existed. And yet we're saying the same thing. Kids couldn't consent. Kids are being treated as adults. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out what in the hell is wrong inside of these hotels, you guys. It isn't hard. It's being made to look real hard. It's being made to look real mysterious. And my God, there can be all these viewpoints to be had about it. And let me opine, and let me opine, and let me opine is all we ever get. Opine by idiots. That all they do is opine whatever they got told to opine because they have no critical thinking skills of their own, because they have no skin in the game, because they've never been inside one of these organizations, because they don't know how it works and they're too lazy to go and do it since they can just put something on YouTube and make a quick buck real quick. That's all it takes to make a quick buck on YouTube. Just put it up there. Put CNN below it, put ABC News below it, and then you are making money after money after money after money.
So there's no differentiation between ages.
So how hard do they have to work, for example?
Well, they would have a very similar schedule. I think possibly they would have a slightly less long schedule than the adults. My memory's a little hazy on that. But
we were, again, selected, you guys. Some kids that were literally not material to be putting in those positions because they were just children and they wouldn't be adulticized no matter how hard they tried. They treated them as second-hand class citizens, as nuisances. And yes, those were maybe in some shorter schedules here and there. A few exceptions would be made for a very tiny amount of kids that weren't like me, that weren't like Jenna, that weren't like Laura, that weren't like kids that they were already too intelligent to be putting in adult positions. Laura was being made an ethics officer at age 12. So just make that sure that that really sinks in. The ethics officer is the one that's confronting adults on being perverts. Oh, it says here that you've been masturbating thinking about me. Oh, you really gonna write you a program so that you stop masturbating about me. Let me here put the steps for you to really do that program for you really to stop masturbating thinking about me. Why is that a religious experience, FBI? Why is that? Why were self-admitted degenerates allowed to tell us that they were thinking and masturbating and couldn't stop doing that? And then it was our job to make them stop. In what world were we supposed to be able to make them stop, FBI?
Pretty much the same. Pretty much the same.
Subjected to the same kind of punishments that the Sea Org? Explain to us the punishments within the Sea Org.
Basically,
subjected to the same level of punishments. Punishments. That, yes, again, for the 10th billion time, adults that were part of the culture inside of this hotel loved getting punished, loved getting disciplined, loved getting degraded, loved getting trampled on. That's what they signed up for. It's all over the L. Ron Hubbard policies. Everyone can go and open those policies so you can see what these people are into, so you can judge them. Not based on what they're blabbing to you. Oh, no, that's not what I believed. Well, it says here that you did believe it. It says here that you were not allowed to change a single thing that was written in the book. So by all means, make it make sense, Scientology adults that want to wash off your hands a la Katie Holmes. Oh, no, I was never even barely there. Bye. Let me grab Suri. Bye-bye. I'll sign whatever you tell me to sign. And, let me go and live it up in Hollywood again. Because, I just want to be part of Hollywood, but not Scientology anymore. I change my mind, says Katie Holmes, as she leaves all the other kids there to rot. Because you guessed that Romana did not have the power to be the influencer, to really be taken seriously, because this regurgitation of sanitized ABC News segment to really talk about whatever, didn't talk about anything substantial that literally stopped any kid being abused inside of the hotel. So all these like theoretical questions, it's all hypothetical. It's all, well, what about this? What about that? What about you go do your own research? What about you don't get told? What about that?
Depending on the level of trouble that you're in, you'd be subjected to things like heavy labour, segregation from the rest of the crew, so working in the engine room, or the bilges.
And you have to run everywhere, is that right, when you're punished under the seal?
On particular programs, on particular re-indoctrination programs, yeah, you have to run everywhere. You're not allowed to talk unless spoken to. That's more...
And dress in black, is that...
Dressed in black. We had to run everywhere. We were being made to, you know, again, as I told you guys before, I was put as a minor on the program that she's referring to, the RPF. We weren't rehabilitating anything. The RPF is where they send the self-admitted sexual perverts to have their way with kids, because as much as they pretended to be like, oh my God, this is going to be such a great disciplinary action for you, imagine they send self-admitted sex perverts to live in close quarters with underage kids. CC Debbie Cook, CC Mike Rinder, CC Tom DeVocht, CC Biddy Miscavige, CC Angie Trent, CC all of you that sent underage kids to a place where you knew personally you had been CC'd. Marcus Ginter, investigated by Marty Rathbun, the Deputy Inspector General of Ethics, who got Marcus Ginter to tell him every single aspect of time, place, form, and event of every single time that man committed a felony on U.S. soil. That's the program. That's the rehabilitation program. What type of rehabilitations happens to a self-admitted pedo? By being put in close quarter proximities with underage kids. You guys in the chat, let me know, because literally couldn't be more dumbfounded and flabbergasted at the idiocy of this corporate media, who cannot investigate their way out of a literal paper bag, even though they're wearing the ties, even though this woman is wearing her little professional outfit. Well, very professional to do no due diligence is what these people are paid for, apparently. That's all it takes to be a talking head. Dress and put yourself in a tie, and then you can ask as many dumb questions as you want and do no literal heavy lifting of your own.
Is that right?
That's the Rehabilitation Project Force, which is very specifically a re-indoctrination program that some people are put on.
Romana, the Church of Scientology has a policy called disconnection, but they deny that it exists. But you're going through something related to disconnection at the moment, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Since I spoke out, my mother has been put in a very difficult position by the church, in that she is basically being faced with a situation where, as a Scientologist, and she is a dedicated Scientologist, she cannot continue with her services in Scientology while staying in connection with me, based on the fact that I've spoken out about the abuses I experienced in the Sea Org.
So are they putting you under pressure to not talk out again?
Well, they are... Let's put it this way. Through my mother, they are putting me under pressure to not speak out, because they're putting her in a horrific position where she has to choose between her spiritual faith, which is really important to her, and her connection with her daughter.
I mean, and my heart breaks for this woman, you guys, because again, we've seen this over and over and over again. We had to have empathy and compassion for our child trafficking parents. Imagine she's making a case where her mom is the one being put in a difficult position. Did y'all get that she was 15 years old when she was trafficked by the mom, that she's trying to afford her a lot of grace. Oh my God, I'm sorry for causing you the trouble for your spiritual, whatever the hell that mother is getting in there. And yes, you can see her. She wants to have a relationship with her mother. It's nature. It's called nature, you guys. It's very hard for children to wake up and have to reconcile with the fact that your mother was and is an unindicted felon that child trafficked you. An unindicted felon that literally endorsed, approved, saw all other kids being abused. And since all other kids were being abused, then my kid can also be fair game like all other kids. Because apparently that's all the legal laws count on. If everyone is doing it, then it must be very legal. And how many Scientology kids try to really go out there and be like, my mom was very put in a hard position because now I'm advocating for kids who cannot consent and could not be there being abused. But, you know, my mom is really pressed now because now it's like, well, how am I not supposed to go get audited if I want to do that for myself? And that's why it isn't a thing to go help the elderly. It isn't a thing to go help the people who can consent to be where they are at. If they don't want to be there, they can walk away. It's called they are adults. So walk out already. Stop playing like you are the kid. You are not the kid. You are all the adults. So why do you have unfettered access to children? That would be a very good question for her mother to begin answering. Why did you put your child there at 15 years old? Why was your child being asked disgusting, literal sexual questions at 8 years old, mothered the child trafficked Romana? That's what we need to understand from that mother. Not, oh, the mother got put in a really tough position. I mean, again, you guys hold this idea about like disconnection is such a toxic policy. That's a short story. That's a short talking point for all the people that want to go, oh, we really want to whistle blow. Let's really cancel the toxic disconnection policy. Imagine if you don't get disconnected from your child trafficking parents, you don't stand a chance in recovery. Imagine that the one saving grace these children would have is do disconnect from convicted, unindicted felons that are all about breaking the law, and they're all in a conspiracy together. But you know what? Let's all just remain very respectful and let adults do whatever they want. Nobody have an opinion. Well, you know what? People need to start having an opinion since they do involve the kids. If these adults had made their little sick game a 21 and up club, very exclusive. Tom Cruise is going to show up any minute. Well, you know what? Suri shouldn't have been brought around, and none of the other kids like Romana should have been made fair game for all adults to have their way with the kids. Because that is the fair game policy that no one talks about L. Ron Hubbard implementing and pitching to his disgusting proteges. Make children fair game by pretending all children are adults. That is all it took. That is not a religious belief, FBI. No one at the FBI can claim, oh, look at that 6-year-old. My religious belief says that she's an adult, so let me, do something that is highly illegal since she's an adult. She's consenting because, Where's the protection? Where is the literal protection? Because all we ever get is people play dumb at the drop of a hat. To protect what? The legacy of a convicted felon?
So given what you're going through, the pressure of having to not speak to your mother again, why are you continuing to speak out? Because I feel it is really, really unfair, first of all, that my mother should be put in such a position. And when I've been told to my face that there is no policy of disconnection, and then the absolute opposite is being presented to me, I feel I have to say something and I have to speak out because it's not right, and I'm not the only person that's going through this. What does the policy of disconnection do to families who've been involved with Scientology?
Well, it has devastating effects on families. It separates families. It rips them apart.
And so we hear of stories of people not even knowing that their children have died.
That's right. Yeah.
Because of the policy of disconnection.
That's right.
Kerry?
I mean, if you're the type of parent that is so deadbeat that you left your kid inside of the hotel and then you want to project that a disconnection policy that all parents were made aware of is all it took for you to not know that your child is no longer here. I mean, what type of sick, disgusting organization can be allowed to do that? A child trafficking one that's being protected by the mainstream media, that's being protected by the FBI, that's being protected by the IRS, that's being protected by the LAPD, that's being protected by the Clearwater PD. It's all under y'all's jurisdiction in case y'all didn't notice. Who else is it up to get this disgusting, abominable hotel? See the law applied, the law that applies to everyone. No one is asking for exceptions. No one is asking to be treated in any way, shape, or form different than anyone else. What does the law say in the book? That's all that matters, you guys. That's all that matters. What does it say in the book? Can you child traffic kids? Can you lock up their passports? Can you hold them against their will? Can you monetize adults that come in and pay to have hours of time spent speaking to a child in sexually disgusting, unthinkable questions that all constitute a very religious situationship for the adult? That's all that is ever being considered in this subject, you guys. What do the adults want? We wouldn't want to tell them, we wouldn't want to insult them to be like, no, don't do this. We wouldn't want to tell them what to do. And yes, we don't want to tell them what to MF do. I don't give an F what they want to do. They want to be slaves? Sign up for that shit. You want to be stripped of all your rights? Sign up for that. That's your comfort level. That's how you like it. You like it that rough. By all means, those people in there love to dish it rough. So all the people that are really wanting to live out a fantasy of being a slave, by all means, sign up for this shit. But kids cannot sign up for that shit.
Have you got a question or a comment?
Well, look, I just first of all like to say congratulations for having the courage to do what you're doing, both in terms of leaving, which we talked a little bit earlier about how hard all that is, and so to do that, and also to have the courage to stand up and do what you're doing now. I mean, there's been some stuff in the paper again about Suri being groomed to be the world leader of this organisation. I mean, that was kind of the thinking. Do you think that they would have been planning that far ahead for someone like that who's 6 years old?
Look, obviously I can only give you my opinion.
Yep, sure.
I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. And yes, it is the kind of thing that they would plan ahead. I mean, when I was in the Sea Org, they were talking about the return of Ron Hubbard. So it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
I mean, nothing surprises us, you guys, because we're talking about infantile child trafficking degenerates. They want to be the kids. The adults are wanting to be the kids. The adults are the ones that don't want to be told no, that get real pressed, get real dysregulated the second you take their little toy, that meter machine, away from them. Because they will scream, they will squeal, oh my God, what are you doing? My e-meter, my spirituality, my whatever is your depravity. It's not called your spirituality. You were literally subjecting kids to this. You were grooming kids to take this. That's called your depravity, not your spirituality. So get your facts straight. Go and work clear the definition of depravity. Go and work clear the definition of degenerate, and see if any of those two words apply to the Scientology mothers, to the Scientology fathers, deadbeat fathers. that put kids at risk and then say that they're getting off on really saving a world.
Romana, you talked before about being sent down to the engine room. Now, you were aboard a ship called the Free Wings, where they train a lot of Scientologists at very high levels. I think one of Tom Cruise's, maybe his 40th birthday party was on the Free Wings. What's the engine room, and why do you get sent to the engine room?
Basically, if you are in what they call ethics trouble, so if you're doing something against command intention, so you're not doing what they want you to do, basically, there's various levels of pressure put on you to come back into line. And one of these things is to go down to the engine room and clean, paint.
A lot of pressures to be put back into line, you guys. And again, all the pressure was we would get abused anytime we said we didn't like it, anytime we said we wanted to leave, anytime we said something is wrong, like I don't get it, like I'm not getting helped, I'm not being spiritual, I'm not saving a world. What? You're not saving a world? You don't believe in this mission anymore? Well, now you're going to get sent to an engine room. Another Australian, as if we don't already have Valeska, literally telling us that she was being sent to the engine room to do disgusting work because she was falling out of line. And then Romana here is telling us that she was also being sent to that engine room. And then I tell you that I was also sent to the RPF as a minor. And then Sergio Blinsky was also sent to the RPF as a minor at 16 years old. This girl already told us all kids are treated the same with the same level of punishments.
Remove rust, work under the deck plates, work in the tubes, all that. Well, I've done all of those things.
So, and it's dangerous? Dangerous
well,
work?
Yeah, I mean, it's
dangerous? Is it, I mean, seriously, you guys, like, I'm sorry, but this corporate mainstream media, pathetic from Australia, this is an Australian segment where in what world are you telling the girl that just told you she was 15 when she was signed up for the Sea Org, that she was being sent to an engine room to the bilges with tons of toxic matter was flying around. And in case you didn't get the memo, this was an asbestos-ridden ship. There's literally a whole documentary of how asbestos-infested the Free Winds is. So imagine that you ask a child that signed up to this if there was any dangers in doing what she was being told to do.
It's more the mind control aspect of it. I think it's mentally dangerous. I think it's I don't think it's physically dangerous necessarily, but it's.
I mean, imagine, you guys, that she's still, as a child, abused by this cult, minimizing, oh yeah, well, you know what, being put in the engine room at the Free Winds, at the asbestos literally ridden ship wasn't physically dangerous, but the mental aspect is the thing that's dangerous. Like, they told us, you're allowed to do anything, you can do anything, go remove asbestos with your hands, who cares? BOT, make it go right, it doesn't matter.
It's very much you go down there until you do what they want you to do. And that, I definitely experience pretty.
So why don't people walk away from that situation? Why don't they leave if they're being abused?
Well, it's. I know that's hard for some people to understand, but having experienced it myself, it's like, because you're in that mind control of, this is the only way to spiritual freedom, and you've accepted that and you believe that. You feel if you do something against the organisation that you're going to have your spiritual freedom taken away from you.
So how did you get out? Sorry, I mean, I know it's pretty blunt, but how did you, what is it what happened that made you say, I'm not doing this anymore?
Look, it was a slow incremental realisation up to a crisis point where I realised that my mind was not my own. Mm-hmm. And eventually, after trying to leave many, many times unsuccessfully, I managed to leave. So, yeah.
And how did you leave the Free Winds, the ship?
Well,
because they take your passport.
Yeah.
Don't they take your passport? I mean, do you guys see that this information about these people taking passports of minors, which is a felony, breaking news to all the pathetic talking heads of the media that have purported to want to really take a stab at the story. And you, with a straight face, sir, can ask a woman that was sent to that ship from another country to go float around with her passport locked up, trying to escape. And how did you escape? And what did you do? I mean, honestly, what type of questions are those? Like, we're expected to figure out what was done to us was illegal, because you know what? The corporate media hasn't helped a shred. I had to figure out literally decades later, literally recently, that it was actually a felony to have taken my passport and locked it up and be told that I couldn't leave the hotels, to be told that I had to be, you know, the savior of a self-admitted felon, disgusting pedo.
I had to go through their process of leaving. I did try to escape at one point unsuccessfully, but I finally managed to get through their whole scrutinization and sec checking, etc., and leave. So they allowed me to go, but this was after 5 years of trying. You know,
there are a lot of celebrities in Scientology. Tom Cruise, John Travolta. Is that a tactical thing that the Scientologists kind of go out to recruit big names in order to kind of build the movement? Or
from my understanding, I've never worked with.
I mean, can you imagine that man asked her that question as if he's a child? As if he is a child. It's like, do they recruit celebrities to help the movement? I mean, is that something that... How much money are these people getting paid to do no due diligence of their own? Why are they putting the due diligence on the children that have lived to tell, that have crawled on their hands and knees out of a bilge of a ship with their passport locked up, to go to the media, who goes, oh yeah, we really want to talk about this, the scrutiny that really is happening at the media because, you know, Suri Cruz has been made to leave Scientology by her mother, and we really want to get onto the story now. And they're bringing up Tom Cruise and John Travolta for what purpose, you guys? So that they can get their segment monetized, so that they can get people watching it, because all they do is try to make money on the gossip that they're selling. They have no investigation of their own. They have no skin in the game themselves. They have no receipt. So that's why it always looks like it's always us saying everything. It's like it's up to us to advocate for ourselves, and the media is just going to sit there being very in the middle of everything is the media. Imagine that.
Celebrities in that way, but from my understanding, there are policies around, you know, the benefits of having opinion leaders, which is what they would call it in Scientology. And
I think it's a fact that there was a certain acting school in California that a number of actors went through and became Scientologists, and there were Scientologists teaching at that acting school.
Yeah, look, I can't comment on.
There were Scientologists and children. As if we didn't just react to the kids' bop of Scientology yesterday, you guys, because again, the YouTuber that covered this subject yesterday runs circles around these talking heads. He asked better questions. He made his own conclusion. He had his own opinions based on the research he did on the things he could see for himself. He didn't go ask a million people what they thought was the problem. And if you didn't watch that video, by all means, watch it, because it's literally video recorded receipts of inappropriate, disgusting things being done by Scientology to adulticize children and to groom a culture where children are the ones that are being made the fair game of abuse to all adults, to all paying members of the hotel. Because that's who they all are. That's why they're all in a conspiracy together. Do you have a paid membership to that disgusting hotel? Then you are implicated too, sir. Oh, you didn't have any kids? Doesn't matter. Did you pay to get audited by a child? Yes or no? Did you get paid to get an ethics interview by a child? Yes or no? Did you pay for a course to be delivered by a child? Yes or no? The answer to that question is yes to all Scientology literal adults. None of these hotels operated without kid labor. So none of them can say, oh, it wasn't, the kids weren't being used when I was there. The kids have been being used by L. Ron Hubbard since the very get-go. Breaking news to you idiots at the FBI who indicted 11 people who saw the type of receipts these people keep on themselves about their criminal activity and who sit outside doing jack all. As of today, this year 2024, the FBI doesn't give an F that kids get trafficked. Just like Ghislaine and Jeffrey were getting away with it, $1 billion in the bank, and they will look for another set of rules and laws that are going to apply to those hotels, given the amount of money that is involved, because money buys anything in the United States. You could be a full-blown child trafficking operation and get subsidized by the IRS. Breaking news for you.
That, because I don't know much about it, but I have heard of that, such things like
well,
that.
Romana, thanks very much for coming in and telling us your story tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Romana, for speaking at the time you spoke. Thank you, Romana, for being an ex-Scientology executive that discussed what treatment of the children was like. Thank you for trying to blow a whistle about the aspect of this disgusting hotel culture that needed to be called out when it wasn't safe at all. When everybody was still told to be very scared because Sosa's going to come and get you. The boogeyman is going to come and grab you real quick. Don't raise your voice. Don't go against Scientology. Leave that all to Mike Rinder. He's the only one that can take it. Because on a couple of occasions, the squirrels have done interviews with Scientologists at Blue, and it was very clear that they were not fully aware of what's going on. Marina, they're playing dumb. I'm sorry for all of you guys that want to really go and cradle and canoodle the older people. They play dumb on the spot. My own grandmother was used to be a groomer of me. I would have never become a supervisor had my grandma not been used to lure me into the hotel and to literally set an example where, yeah, don't you want to be like your grandmother that you love so much? Well, my grandmother knew what in the hell was being done. Did she have the critical thinking skills to understand that she was doing something that was criminally illegal and she was part of a criminal conspiracy? Maybe not. But you know what? It didn't change the fact that I got trafficked into there. So in what world are the elders that were there from the very beginning literally endorsing, literally saying, this is a great idea. Let's get as many kids as we can inside of these hotels. So they don't get a pass. They don't get a pass. The facts don't change because they're older, because they became older and then what? You know, this is just, they play dumb on command. They, oh, well, what? Oh, no, I'm here to save a world. Well, you weren't saving a world by abusing kids. So how are you saving a world? Oh, I think that was your question, Marina. So, you know, I mean, anybody can advocate for whoever they want. I'm not saying you don't. I only advocate for kids because that's only the ones that I care about. You cannot change. You cannot tell an elder person what to do with their life. If they want to be there, if they want to be stuck, if they want to be abusing kids, that's where they shouldn't be. But they do know. And if they've gone past the point of doing that, because I mean, I actually, now that you mentioned that, I do see some literal elders that you're like, are they even functional? But, you know, moving boxes, like Aja caught somebody like moving all these boxes, this man that could barely move, but doesn't matter in Scientology. As long as they get the free labor, they will exploit them. Sounds of Tourists. Scientology is nothing in Australia. We have strong media that aren't afraid of this cult. Well, Sounds of Arcturus, thank you for your comment. I mean, I beg to differ, sir or ma'am. This was an Australian literal segment. And in Australia was the first country to allow Scientology to call itself a religion. So Australia set the legal precedent for this child trafficking institution to go worldwide, and the IRS goes, okay, well, Australia already said yes, then we'll say here yes too. So Australia owes a debt to all the kids that it normalized this for in Australia, since there's a lot of kids. There's Miriam Francis, there's Jenna Miscavige that was trafficked to Australia, there's Romana here. There's plenty of examples of Australia not doing anything to stop the problem that they were the first people to endorse. So Australian government, by all means, get your literal head out of your literal you-know-what. Because, yes, Australian Mike Rinder got it approved in Australia to have this called a religion, because Mike Rinder loved this religion, because Mike Rinder thought L. Ron Hubbard, his own daddy figure of choice, convicted felon that he was an incredible man that really a lot of people were supposed to be following. I was sent to the bilges on the free winds and was 19. It was I was tiny. The water level was over my head. Fortunately, the engineer took pity on me. I mean, again, you guys, the truth corroborates itself when we talk about the bilges. It couldn't be that Valeska, Romana, and Case in the House experienced the same thing as women being sent to this as a punishment, and it's a religious experience that they were having for themselves. I don't think so. KDD, lovely sir, you need your own documentary made, controlled, and spoken by the children themselves. Thank you, KD. I mean, we're doing our sort of documentary here with you guys on YouTube already, in a way, I feel, because every day we come here on a live, you guys tune in, you guys see it, and we have, the advocacy that it's needed. It's like these people are gonna, I don't think we could sum it up in 2 hours almost, but maybe, I don't know. Documentary, maybe. It's just that, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it, to be honest, but we'll see. Thank you for your comment. Laura Wilbur, media being robotic. Thank you, Laura. That's exactly what we're calling out. The media being robotic. And you know what? They don't get paid to be robotic. They get paid because they're supposedly having a great, incredible critical thinking skills for themselves. And, if we are relying on the type of critical thinking skills that we have observed, then you know what? No child is safe in America or the entire world for that matter. Just so you know, the Headleys and Rinder won't answer my question about whether any of them were ever audited by a child. I think that speaks volumes. Well, there you go. Just so you know. Just so you know, all these people had the same level of access to having minors be facilitated for this. Claire Headley, I can tell you for 1000% fact, she was watching video recorded sessions of minors auditing. That was part of her job description. Right, Claire Headley? You were having full access to the looking system where you could punch in the numbers and you can get video feeds of exactly what session you wanted to watch. Oh, sir, there's a little red tag of a 14-year-old in room 4411. Can you just take a look at that? So whether Claire Headley was personally audited by a child, I wouldn't know. I never saw it, but I know she was overlooking children being trained to become this. And she was also, critiquing, so-called critiquing the sessions of kids being exposed to this. So yes, Claire Headley is to her neck and ears. At the very, very top, like she was hand-selected by David Shelley to be the third in command. So by all means, Claire Headley, what did it take for you to be the third in command? Because maybe do that video next. I'm Claire Headley, Deputy Inspector General for PAC, Supercargo RTC that you were. What type of access about crimes committed against children did you have access to when you grew up, Claire Headley? When you grew up, by all means, be on the record and by all means, repudiate it. You are a mother. How dare you sit there pretending that you don't know what anyone is talking about? How dare you sit there really wanting to save another world where children are still being abused by your buddies at RTC, the same women that you were best friends with back in the day, as if you weren't part of the selected few are, many are called, few are chosen. So stop being proud of having been the third in command and start coming clean on the type of dysfunction that you yourself subsidize, endorse, were all about, and are nowhere near on the public record repudiating it. That is the problem. That is a problem we have. Why are you not repudiating it? Why are you not calling it out? Why are you just pretending that everything was great and wonderful? Well, you know what? It wasn't great nor wonderful for us, the kids that were your slaves. Since we were not the RTC reps, since we didn't have these high-end positions that y'all were seeking, then guess what? We were not having a great religious experience. So Mike Rinder, he's even worse. I mean, in what literal world is Mike Rinder, not sanitizing everything on behalf of David Miscavige, who he says he hates so much because David did beat me, even though he's a quarter of your size, Mike Rinder. Imagine you've made this whole entire narrative about your grown-ass man problems of a man that was quarter your size, the one that you wanted to be beat by, because at this point, that's what it's giving. You were also one of those people that liked it rough. You were an adult, Mike Rinder. No one can come and save you. So why in the hell are you not advocating for kids? Why in the hell are you purporting to be all about wanting to save another world, but not from people like you? Because if you think that there's no proteges left of you doing your disgusting bidding that you were doing there pro bono, breaking news to you. You were replaced. Breaking news to you, Claire Headley, you were replaced in RTC. Whoever was doing what in the hell you were doing has been found another person that also agrees to do the same thing to children at an industrial size scale. That's why it matters. That's why it matters. That's why accountability matters. That's why you need to be on the public record actually telling us what you're disgusted and nauseated about you did. Not what was done to you. Not what was done to you. We don't give an F what was done to you. What did you do with your own two hands? Who did you order to the RPF that was a child? Who did you order to the RPF that was a self-admitted pedo? Who? Because there's names. There's people that ended up there. There's kids that are no longer here because they were put there. So by all means, stop telling us your paper clip withholds that we don't give an F about and really start coming clean for a change. I'm trying to catch up with these comments, you guys. Trafficking, groom. I mean, those are the two words, guys. Everything is trafficking, groom. Groom it. Traffic. Hello, grounded in truth. Unacceptable. Yes. Yeah, you guys, if you put question in caps, I can always see it much easier. Thank you, Zoe. And anyone else that has any questions, please put them in there. Thank you, Marina. I needed that blunt answer. Thank you, Serge. I get it. But man, I struggle with the old, so must be innocent. I'm getting older, 61. I just don't think it's an excuse. I'm sorry for any of them that were brainwashed, but they still got audited by children. And I mean, that's the point, you guys. This whole entire thing is tragic AF. Nobody wants this. Nobody wins by this being the truth. Nobody. It's all just unfathomable that it happened, that is being allowed to happen, that is being protected by the FBI to happen to the elderly, to the middle age, and to the children. None of those groups deserve it. But, you know, again, it's just unthinkable. And yeah, I mean, the elders were the ones that were doing it the worst before. And then they got out PR, and then they were not allowed to be RTC anymore. So now that you're old and decrepit, let's have you wash dishes. Let's put you away from where people can watch you, is what they would do. So the elders are just as complicit and literally numb. They're numb. You know, it's a normalized culture of abuse. It's a culture that allows all adults to abuse children. Did they want to abuse them? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they want it or they didn't. It's what happened that we need to understand. It's like, did everyone at Epstein Island go there to abuse children? Does it matter if they went there because that was a thing, or does it matter that when they got there were kids provided for them to abuse? And I'm sure the FBI can answer that question for us, you guys. Question, Zoe, can we get some merch with Save the Children on the front, Scientology occult on the back, search Tamar? Thank you, Zoe. I am going to figure out how to message. I mean, I've been on YouTube for a while now, and I just haven't opened a merch store. So yeah, give me a minute and I have to figure it out. I mean, I know there's a lot of other people that do the merch, but I haven't figured it out just yet. But I agree with you. We need to get the message out, and we need to have as many people raise awareness over this. So thank you for bringing it up, and I'm going to see what I can do about that. Anyone in the chat where all the kids were being held, I can't find a list anywhere, and I don't want to accidentally traumatize ex-Scientology. Where the kids are being held, Marina, in every Scientology organization, kids have been held at one point or another. I mean, Celebrity Center, ton of kids. Asho Foundation, tons of kids. Asho Day, tons of kids. AOLA, tons of kids. Flag Service Organization, tons of kids. I mean, every single organization has had kids as part of their story. So I don't know that there's like a very specific central place that the kids were held. I mean, they were held at the cadet org, you know, but again, there's so many different levels of kids that were being held at different times and different ages. So it's all contingent on their age and what was going on and what type of era of crisis management it was for Scientology. Because again, the children were only disposed of as a crisis management thing. It wasn't because they grew a spine and then all of a sudden the adults were like, oh my God, we're abusing 8-year-olds. Let's not get the 8-year-olds. It's just that the 8-year-olds were causing trouble to the adults. So they're like, oh, let's get rid of those. So question. Oh, that was the same one. Thank you for your question. Question, where did the children live? I mean, I again, we were living with adults. If you were in the Sea Org, you were just living with the adults. If you were at the Cadet Org, you were just living in this like big motel. It's called a Quality Inn Motel, which was a converted motel that was where all the kids ended up, you know, being made to live. So literally trafficking 101. Part 2. I'm going to have some custom tank tops made for myself to wear around all spring and summer and fall that say save the children, Scientology's occult. Absolutely, Zoe. I mean, all of y'all are definitely, you know, welcome to continue to help us spread our message. So absolutely, definitely do it. Do it. You know, do your designs, do whatever you need about that. Little adults do not exist under 18. Thank you, Ellen. Absolutely. I'm working on something for statute of limitations. I need to know the locations where kids were and are being kept, please. I don't know, Marina. I think I kind of answered you that question. So I don't know if you need more specific, but you know, maybe email me at searchdelmar@proton.me and maybe I can be more specific on my answer. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, thank you again for being here with us today. Thank you for listening to everything. If I missed your question, leave it in the comments for the replay crew. We want to answer y'all's questions. This is all part of getting transparency and accountability achieved. So thank you for everyone that is bringing up questions in the chat. Even if the question is pushback, we welcome it because we want to literally get to the bottom of what is going on. And we want to continue to advocate for kids who cannot consent that have been ensnared inside of these hotels. So I'll see you guys soon. We got a couple more things to cover today. So hopefully you can join us then. If not, replay crew and all that jazz. So thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you all really soon. Bye-bye.